to the chop shop. I'm retro, let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. Yeah, it's lit in the chop shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30, let's do a first take on Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Carter Ray and Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal to the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket, put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, he hit me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the chop shop, cause they cutting up. It's retro, coming to you live to the chop shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the chop shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the chop shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, we live in the chop shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the chop shop. We in the chop shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the chop shop.
H-Town, what's up? You know what time it is. It's time for the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. And got Jim Hicks coming on very, very shortly. He just got him in the background. He's back putting his makeup on. And but I'm just so happy to be back on the air today, y'all. Yesterday in my area, we had a big storm, knocked out the power. The generator, I mean, this knocked out everything. And I wouldn't even, only thing I could use was my phone. And my phone, I was using that for Jimmy to Skype me in. And the signal wasn't that good. If you go back and look at the broadcast, the signal wasn't that good. So, but I'm here today. Jimmy be here shortly. It's a lot of things that I didn't get a chance to talk about. And I hope y'all had fun yesterday talking about the young men. See, that's Jimmy's wheelhouse. Jimmy can go on and on and on. Matter of fact, an hour and a half talking about high school basketball. That's something that he's passionate about, something that he loves to do. I mean, I'm more of the pro basketball, the pro football person. But you know, and let me tell you, let me give you my disclaimer. Yesterday, because he asked me a question. First of all, I didn't want to go there yet, but we're broadcasting on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. I got ahead of myself, but we're broadcasting all over the world. And do me a favor, people on the Facebook, just do me a favor. It's very, very important. If you are a friend of ours on Facebook, please go over and just subscribe to YouTube. So when stuff like what happened yesterday, if we can't get to Facebook, we can always get to YouTube. It's very, very important. And the digital footprint on YouTube is a lot. You don't have to relinquish your rights to Facebook. You can stay on Facebook, but go and subscribe. And let me tell you something. Several of y'all have did, and I thank y'all. It's very, very important. But we got a great show. But you know what? I was thinking about something, and Jimmy's not on the show yet. But I saw, remember weeks ago, I talked, you know, we got the Bubba Wallace thing going on. And I got so many topics that I wanted to talk to y'all about. But I was Harry Edwards. uh, renowned professor, I think at UCLA, activist, a professor. I mean, one of the greatest black voices over the last 25 years, 20, 35 years that I know. Y'all probably yes, baseball is back. What's up, Michael Smith? Hold up. Let me start something before I go there. Shout out to Sonia Billingsley, Todd Holmes, Yolanda Green, Derek Johnson, and Rick Brown. Those are the first 5 people that popped up on my face. And guess who? Corey Willis just popped up over on YouTube. So, but I was thinking about him. Harry Edwards came on, and he was just talking about this change. Bubba Wallace stuff yesterday. I want Jimmy to be on. We can talk about that. But he said change is one thing, and progress is totally different. You know how we sometimes, oh yeah, Troy Weaver, yeah, is now the 8th black GM in the NBA. Great move. Thank you, Rick. Troy Weaver, great guy. And Rick, y'all, I'm finna let Rick interrupt me. Rick on the YouTube, he just mentioned Troy Weaver. Rick, I don't know if you remember, and I got him in my notes. I don't have the other 2 guys' names, but Detroit Pistons had hired Troy Weaver as the 9th black GM in the NBA, and 8th. So let me help you out with that. Detroit, y'all remember I got on Chicago because Chicago did not, remember this now, Chicago did not interview a black candidate for their opening. They didn't event for their president's opening. And you know, I got up in arms about it. But let me show you what Detroit Pistons did. Detroit Pistons came and they interviewed 3 guys. Troy Weaver and 2 more African-American guys. So they were, think about that. That's progress, but that's not change. And that's what Harry Edwards was talking about the other day. He likened the concept. He said, it's one of these concepts a lot like profit. Joseph and Daryl Barnes and G.G. Moore. He says a lot like profit. When you're talking about this progress, and you're talking about progress in social justice, progress in racial discrimination, progress in systemic racism in the hiring process. He said progress is totally different from change. He said progress is one of those concepts, it's a lot like profit. At some point, it comes down to who keeping the books. Let me repeat that. Sometimes it comes down to who's keeping the book. So let me, yes, status Moody, we'll get to all of that later. At some point he said it comes down to who keeping the book. He said, people say we have made great progress since World War II. Yes. We made great progress since the assassination of Martin Luther King. Yes. But when you really look at it and analyze it, how much change has taken place? Anissa Ville and Mindy Collins. Hey, Mindy, I'm back today. Jimmy will be back in shortly. I'm going to pop him in as soon as he pop up on the screen. How much change has really taken place within the power relationships of the social and institutional dynamics that occur in our American society? So y'all got to help me with this. You can look at the United States Congress. You can look at the Senate. 1 black Republican senator. Look at some of the critical institutional arrangements. Corporate ownerships, corporate authority, corporate positions. You look at the NFL. Let's look at the NFL. 2 black head coaches, 2 black GMs. These are the things that has to change. And if they don't change, you're not going to make real progress. If it don't change, see, we're talking about progress. Thank you, Carrot. See, we get so caught up in progress. Carrot, we got to start. Hey, Mindy, we got to start advocating for change. You just have these temporary adjustments. It's like, check this out, Rick, you're going to like this one, Rick. Let me button up my shirt. Hold on. Let me put it with you. It's like going to a slave plantation, right? And doing everything you can sincerely and dedication and mobilization, you can do all of that on a slave to make the slaves more comfortable and secure. Let me repeat that one. It's like all this progress and not change is like going on a slave plantation and doing everything and you can to dedicate, to mobilizing and making the slaves feel comfortable. That's why I tell y'all, don't let up, don't feel comfortable and secure. But the reality is we have to get rid of the slave system. That is the parallel of what we up against today. What are the steps? Oh, I got some steps for you. Got steps. Funding of our schools a lot better. You know it. That's funding our schools better. Our voting habits got to change. Congress. We got to get a Congress in there that can get things done. That's why we got to mobilize. That's why they talking about bring out the vote. But you remember Puffy when Obama came out, when P. Diddy came out talking about vote or die. We don't hear that slogan no more. But guess what? Then we got to do something about, hold up, mass incarcerations. We got to do something. And we got to ban, hold up. We got to band together and vote and think about it. We got to watch these banks and who getting the loans. We got to change that system. These are not mysteries, y'all. We got to call them out and call them in. Hold up, listen. Just don't call out the white people. Yeah. Hey, John Trail French. Remind me to tell y'all, I got to tell y'all about this Supreme Court and this voting stuff and these judges. Matter of fact, I'll go there. Let me finish it. Y'all killing me right now. Let me give you that. Hold up. But we're not just going to call out our white friends or the white people. We want to call them in. Because I found out, Rick, nobody has all the answers. Nobody has all. Even when I'm thinking about the Kyrie and the LeBron situation, guess what? Both of these guys got good things to say on both sides. Both of these guys have good things to say on both sides. Let me fix this thing right here. On both sides. So, but I remember back in the 36 Olympics when Jesse Owens won them Olympics. So a lot of black people didn't go over there. They didn't want to go. They wanted to boycott the Olympics. But Jesse did. But let me tell y'all, and y'all remember this, because I'm listening to all you Cowboy fans. Y'all had an owner that always run his mouth. He run his mouth about everything. On his yacht, he talking about the draft. He has not mentioned nothing about this situation. Not Jerry Jones has not mentioned one thing, Rick. And Harry Edwards said something. Yeah, the bank's killing us. Yeah, Harry Edwards said something, y'all, and I want y'all to think about it. Silence is evil's greatest ally. When your guy don't say nothing, when you that's evil's great. If you keep seeing somebody doing something to your neighbor, doing something to a kid, a grown person doing something to a kid, and you're not saying nothing, silence is evil's greatest ally, man. And let us not forget about that. It's just so many things that's going on. Let me see, as Jimmy popped on. I ain't gonna even tell y'all what he was doing, but I just wanted to let y'all. Sometimes, we talking about pay attention. Sometimes we just got to wake up. But let me tell y'all something. About black people. Oh, Jimmy back. Our people's presidential politics in America. And how we got to use this black vote. We'll get there when we get back. Since Jimmy here, Jimmy, make sure you got your mute off, because I know you muted yourself. But I just wanted to have an opportunity to share, because guess what? I missed y'all yesterday. I didn't have a chance. And, I know what I had to tell y'all. Let me tell y'all something. Let me give a disclaimer. Jimmy trying to get me in the middle of some talking about having nephews. And I'm going to tell y'all the reason, I adopt certain guys in the city that I feel that I want to adopt. And Jimmy told me I got to do it again. Let me tell you something. I had a bad experience these last couple of years. Because when I deem a kid my nephew, we got a group of grown people out here, we got a section, they know who they are, that really hates on these kids. They talking about it ain't hating. We're just being constructive criticism. Listen, certain guys, that's why, so mamas and daddies, if I deem your kid my nephew, I'm just going to tell y'all. I'm not going to tell the general public, because I don't want people hating on people's kids like these. Let me tell y'all something. We got a group of guys around here. I mean, bless their little heart. I guess that's their claim to fame. But their whole aim, because I don't see nothing else they doing, but their whole aim is to criticize and critique these young high school players. And I don't want to say it's hating Mendy, because I hope I put it like this. I'm going to be nice today, Mendy. It's just a difference of opinion. And I want my young guys who I deem my nephews, I want these guys to succeed. And let me tell you something. They succeeded against all odds. But I just don't want the extra. So Jimmy, that's one thing I'm going to do this year. I'm not going to have no nephews. I'm not going to even have no nephews in the NBA. Because y'all, James Harden, I say he's my nephew. Y'all hate on him. So guess what? Maybe it's me. Maybe it not be the kids. It might be me. But Jimmy, glad to have you back. And Jimmy, I did not have internet problems yesterday. I had power. No power. Y'all, I was sitting around. Thank God all of my devices were all hooked up. And Jimmy, guess what I had to figure? We got to figure this out. One of you tech experts, what do we do when everything in our house runs on the internet? Your TV, your everything. How do I go back to analog? So email me at chopshop hcx@gmail.com, because when stuff like, even you can have a generator, and when it pops back on, it still the internet have to circulate back up. So let me tell y'all something. And guess what? And I'm glad one of my devices had a DVD hookup. Jimmy, I ain't gonna tell y'all what I want. Again, I found one DVD. Guess what the name of that DVD was? Sweet Home Alabama. What the hell is that with Reese Witherspoon in it, Jimmy? That's what I watched. That's what I watched yesterday. But boy, Jimmy had some great moments in it. Gave me some ideas. But Jimmy, you're back. What's going on? High school. I think you got high school out the way. And you might have some more high school stuff, because I got a bone I got to pick with this high school, with this summer basketball that I might want to pick a little bit later. But what you got going on, man? I knew you weren't going to turn the mute off. I told you to turn the mute off. What's up? What you got?
No, I thought you was going to a break.
No. We got 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes. Yeah.
And so we got, I
tell you what, Jimmy, we can go into a break. You want to?
Yeah, because I got something to want to get into, and it's going to lead into.
Okay, let's hold on then. Let's go into a quick break. Let me find us something, Jimmy, real nice to go into the break on. Let's get us. Let's start out. Hold up. Let's start out here, Jimmy. Bubba Wallace mom
FaceTimed me, and he said, "Well, Mom, there's been a hate crime at the garage." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he just had this, look of just defeat on his face. I said, "Tell me." I said, "What's wrong?" And he was like, Mom, they found a noose in the garage where my car is. And I was like, what? So, immediately I became irate. I was furious. But at the same time, I was looking at him, and I think he was waiting to see how I was going to react. And just to see the look on his face, I knew that I had to hold it together because he was about to lose it. So I just thought about it, and I said, look, Bub, that's just people being ignorant. They're trying to rattle your cage. I said, but at the end of the day, I said, this will not break you. If anything, we're going to use this to rise above that.
No one should feel uncomfortable when they come to a NASCAR race. So it starts with Confederate flags. Get them out of here. They have no place for them. There's going to be a lot of angry people that carry those flags proudly, but it's time for change.
Late this afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that a noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team.
If you don't feel like this is your opportunity to speak up and be active and use your platform, then you're missing it. You're missing the point. You're missing out on the opportunity to be on the right side of history.
Bubba responding on Twitter, "This will not break me. I will not give in, nor will I back down. I will continue to proudly stand for what I believe in."
Welcome back to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour, the best 120 minutes of your day. Shout out to everybody out there, man, on this good Tuesday. Man, the Chop Shop, want to thank you guys in advance for helping us to continue to grow. And that's a great thing about it. We're streaming on both platforms, at both meaning YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. I see you guys out there in YouTube, and I see Lil Rick, I see Rodney Wells, Ronald Shaw, and among others over there. Of course, the ladies over in the Facebook feed. I see Yolanda Green, Yo-Yo in the house. What's going on? I see Dora LeBlanc. Girl, where you been? Mindy Collins. I see you over there taking it. Hey, and one thing about it is this show, if you're a first-time viewer, it's not your ordinary type of sports talk show. We cover a lot of topics that probably most shows wouldn't dare to go in, I guess, and include in their normal array of on their normal platforms. One of the things I noticed on yesterday, I had to talk, and I'm working on it, I haven't confirmed yet, but I got a tentative agreement from a couple of the coaches over in the Big East, from Marquette, Villanova, Providence, and UConn. And 4 black assistant coaches spearheaded a recent coalition, right? And it's called the Coaches for Action. Remember, it started with the 4, ended up getting 18, and eventually all 21 black assistant coaches in that particular conference, the Big East Conference, in case you missed it. Well, they start off, of course, in people understanding now, and that's what, instead of a lot of people, I'm saying, are understanding, to put forth and publish a lot of their key points and their calls to action. That way, it saves time from people having to use it as a reason or an excuse to not jump on board. And first thing that they asking for, and understand, these are all black assistant coaches in the Big East basketball, men's basketball. First thing, it may, like I say, some things it means a lot to some people and they ask for, and it seemed they are asking for, put it like that. Seemed like it may get pushed through, from what I understand, and that is the Black Lives Matter patch will be on all uniforms in the Big East, right? And that's the first thing item on the agenda. Second would be and of course that helps to bring awareness, and it keeps the candle lit throughout the season. Next, they're gonna have a scholarship fund for minority students, which across the country, with initiatives around voting. And boy, like I say, I love that, because that's something that we've been pushing on the Chop Shop, and people don't understand. All eggs don't hatch on the same day. I understand that. But now, and I always believe another thing one of my Hicksisms is that the music sometimes it sounds sweeter coming from a different set of speakers. And so you can see a lot of people are pushing the voter registration or the voter awareness, or agenda or movement. And you see, speaking of which, today, and I want to say is what is it Kentucky? I think one of the primaries today had
Yes, Kentucky. That's where Mitch McConnell.
They only got one. They only got one polling place, from what I understand. One. It might be Louisville.
They got more than one. They got more than one. They went
from the whole state.
They went from 3,000 into 200, but they got 200. One in a heavy populated area.
There we go. And Jimmy, understand this is
Jimmy,
a way.
One of the guy that's going against Mitch McConnell, the black guy. I'm gonna tell you his name in a minute, Walker. But they offering Lyft rides, $20 free, $10 there and back, free Lyft rides to the polls if you don't have a ride to the poll in Kentucky right now. Free Lyft rides.
And I mean, and so you're thinking about when you asking somebody to sacrifice, I mean, you're asking them to go and vote. And I say for some people it is a sacrifice because they're health issues, and a lot of people don't have vehicles, and the sacrifice would be, and it would be you have to take public transportation and having to go and get the ride. Different people have different things. Well, this is how when you're galvanizing, when you're organizing, mobilizing, guys, if you're out there listening, try to always come up with a solution that could be implemented in case there's to offset any problem that individually people may endure. For example, for people that had their travel limited or travel restricted, they're providing Lyft rides. That's the solution. So now you don't have an excuse. Now that may be somebody else, and like some polling places have bottles of water outside. Solution. That means now you're saying, so don't stand in line. Next thing you know, somebody's gonna come and get creative and take another level and come up with chairs for the elderly. That means if you out there, you have rope. I can see it coming because this is how we are moving forward. And so what people would say, well, man, did this stuff do any good that the people was doing? And all of the destruction and the unrest since May the 25th. And yes, because guess what? People are changing. Rules are being implemented. They are voting. They are taking that for NASCAR, even though they got a whole long way to go. But for NASCAR to even do what they've done is like I thought I'd never see it in my lifetime. Of all the people, all the organizations, NASCAR.
But think about this voter suppression, Jimmy. These judges see, for them to change those voting polls and not fund those things, it's got to do something with elected officials. Okay, Mitch McConnell, that's his state. Moscow Mitch, the same guy, Jimmy, who said Obama, I'm gonna make sure that Obama is a one-time president. The same guy who somebody in politics told me the other day that if you remember, Jimmy, when Obama was going out of office, he was trying to appoint for these two judges. He had two openings on the judge seat. He was trying. They would not listen. Mitch McConnell would not listen. I'm gonna show you why. I'm gonna help y'all and show you why. Jimmy, they said, Mitch McConnell said, if Barack Obama was nominating me for a judge, I'll block it. Let me repeat that. If he was, I don't want to have nothing to do with whatever he did. So they blocked it. And soon as this new president got into office, Jimmy, did you see how quickly those judge seats? Let me tell y'all, people who don't know about judge seats, it's roughly 800 judges. It's a quick one. Roughly 800 judges. It's the circuit courts, the appellate courts. The Supreme Court don't have but 9, but the rest of them around the country, when you hear about the appellate courts in the Southern District, they got 11 districts and 800 judges. In 3 years, Jimmy Hicks, what his name? Trump has been in office. 25% of those judges that's on those benches right now have been nominated. I'm gonna repeat that, y'all. Since Trump been in office, 25% of these judges who you can never take, they appointed, you can never take them off. 25%. So that's what Mitch McConnell is fighting for. He never wanted to be the vice president. He wanted to. Jimmy, you know how people grow up wanting to be a basketball player, don't want to be like Mike. Mitch McConnell grew up wanting to control the Senate. And he got it because he know the judges. Jimmy, I'm going to put it where the ghost can get it. Let's say the Senate right now, the Congress come and said, marijuana is legal. And then the president signs it. Do you know the judges, the courts, have to make sure it's legal and interpret the rule? The judges can stop it. Whoever you got in judgeship can stop that. That's how important. You know, when people talk about Hillary wasn't different, Hillary was not gonna appoint these kind of judges. Joe Biden. So when you're talking about you don't like Joe Biden don't think like this guy. So guess what, Jimmy? If he wins 4 more years, guess what's going to happen? 50% of the judges that's on this thing, judges that's on the seat around this country that control our lives and do control the lives, the laws we live by, they're going to be important. 50%. So 40 years from now, your grandkids going to say, what the hell did y'all do in 2020? But Jimmy, I just had to share that because a lot of people don't understand the importance of having the right people in office. These judgeships are just important. What else you got?
And I'm looking over on the YouTube feed and reading some of the comments. Mm-hmm. And
Derek Johnson said something key. A lot of them not qualified. Derek, I got one for you when we get back because we got to take a break in 30 seconds. Jimmy, take us out in 30 seconds.
I mean, guys, it's not complicated. It's the same type of stuff happens on the school level, on the local level, but you have to go and if you want to make a change. Hell, half you guys, how many of you even involved in your local civic club? Think about that first. Are you even involved in your civic club in your subdivision? And let that soak in. When we come back, we'll continue and take the baton and run from there. And with the chop shop, you guys hang right there.
Hello, basketball community. This is Brian Jolivet with Above All Sports Hoops. The Houston National Summer Showcase is scheduled for July 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Games will be played at the gym in the MI3 Center. Registration has been very, very good over the last couple of days. We're trying to wrap up registration by Wednesday, June 24th. So please visit us at www.aboveallsportshoops.com to register. Call me should you have any questions, 281-414-8103. Thank you.
Welcome back to the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks. Those were the words of James Baldwin that were playing through the break. You can go and YouTube it, and oh my God, powerful, 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 powerful words. But Jimmy, you said you got something else, because I can stay on these courtships forever because I've studied stuff in civics. Jimmy, I found out, Jimmy, somebody told me that kids don't study civics no more in school. And if there's an educator out there, please correct me. But somebody told me that an educator said they don't teach civics. And that was one of my favorite classes when I was coming up, just knowing the state and local government. And Daryl, I was talking about the federal courts. The federal courts and the district courts, two different things. I'm talking about the federal courts. Then those appointed positions. appointed position. I'm not talking about you can just run for something and just hop on the judge seat locally. I'm talking about the appointed position. But Jimmy, what you got for me?
Over in Alabama, you
Uh-huh.
mentioned Alabama earlier,
Yeah.
but you know, there's a movement that's in place to rename the Edmund Portis Bridge. And I mentioned that bridge on yesterday as we were engaging with some slight difficulties during the show.
Mhm.
John Lewis Project is the name of the organization, which is named after the late great Congressman, civil rights advocate, hero, John Lewis. They got over 200,000 signatures in about 72 hours. And this thing is galvanized, getting movement to rename that bridge after John Lewis. That's the bridge in Selma, Alabama, that's right over the river. And for those, of course, who, Edmund Portis, and he was a known vigorous Klansman.
Pettis, Jimmy, Pettis.
Pettis, I said Portis.
Yeah. That's all right.
Pettis, known as a vigorous Klansman, and back in that days, and so just pay attention to how this thing lays out. But the one thing about
Jimmy, that's a state. Jimmy, the state can do that themselves. That's not a federal. The state can handle it. Yeah.
That's why the petition, once again, the thing that opened up people's eyes is that they accumulated over 200,000 signatures in 72 hours. So this is just, and so it's a lot of movement behind that. Once again, and I said, if black people, if you want change of not necessarily that magnitude, this is the time to push it. This is the time to put or to show what you're working with right now. And I'm telling you, because that window is going to close. And once that window closes, these opportunities may not be the same, because people are going to, at some point in time, some of them are going to sit back and say, man, look, we gave you this, or we gave you that. And understand, and just watch how it rolls off their lips when you hear about, like, we gave you. In other words, some people, we gave you a black president, we gave you, in order to just watch, pay attention, and still, and I'm going to continue to say this for every day, for as long as I have breath. I'm going to remind you, for those who haven't done so, in fear of tarnishing a relationship, if you're black, you need to have a conversation with some of your white allies, just to understand things, just so they can help understand. Let them understand you, if nothing else.
But if they're your white allies and they've been around you a long time, Jim, shouldn't see? I've learned being around people more, you know them a lot better. So, and I keep asking y'all the question. You said, talk to our white allies. What do you tell them that can change this systemic racism? What can we do to change if they're not in positions of power? I'm just asking, what can they do to change it?
Once again, I do know. Put it like this. Guys, have you just erase white out of the equation right now? We talk about black folk, we do it all the time. Let's say you're talking to one black guy, and there's another black guy that black guy might not really like or care for a lot. You know that third party a lot greater than this guy, than the first party does. So sometimes you might have been in this situation where you say, hold on, man, that dude ain't like that. It's not like that. Let me explain to you why he might have saw him do this right here, or why you saw him do this right here, that. And that means now that's one example of how you can help a person to understand and to erase their prejudiceness about certain people or certain things. So that would be a reason that you can talk when you're talking to the white ally, not a white enemy, a white ally, because they would be more prone to to receive your words because
So-
they value your friendship just as much.
So what you trying to get? Because I missed it because I was looking because some people were talking about somebody said the late John Lewis. John Lewis not dead yet. I don't know if somebody said it. John Lewis is not dead yet. Did you say it, Jim? Somebody mentioned it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because he keeps saying it. I didn't hear you say that. I'm just trying to figure out. So you saying so what about explaining to them? Because you got to understand, my white friends has never been through what I've been through. Okay. So maybe I should explain to them how really this stuff feel, because they don't really know. Because if you ain't been through, they might know it happened, but because Jimmy, my son happened to go visit his friends. They live in a place outside of Buffalo. They went up there for the weekend. He said, "We're in the city. We've been in the city. Let's go." This is one of his best friends from Cornell. The kid is a mixed racial kid. Black kid, but he looked black. You know, tall, nice looking. But guess what? I asked him, we was on the phone talking for Father's Day. They called me for Father's Day. And I asked him, what do you think about it? He said, Mr. Hatter, you know, because his mom is white. He said, Mr. Hatter, I even have problems. I said, what you mean? He said, because Jimmy, he graduated from Cornell early. He had an extra year left, and he went to UAB. So him and his mom went to UAB for a visit. He said this last year, he said somebody came, man, you know, we don't do that down here. Because he was with a white woman in the car. But the white woman happened to be his mom. This is in Birmingham. And he just said, Mr. Hatter, it's just crazy. He said, and I asked him, how you identify with both of your cultures? I met his granddad. I met his grandma. Two other, they happen to be white. Two of the most delightful people in the world. And guess what? My son is up there staying in their house. But I told y'all up until a few years ago, first time I ever stayed in somebody's that happened to be other than black's house. So it's just, Jimmy, I'm just trying to figure out, what do I tell them? That's why I haven't had no talks with them. Because what do I tell them? What?
Alan, let me tell you something. First, you would have to open up your mind and your heart to when you ask that question. And when
What's
a person,
What's the question again?
You saying, what do you tell them?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so when you're saying, what do you tell them? Mm-hmm. And the person is telling you what you can tell them.
I'm asking
and
you
what
again, I told you I missed it. What do you tell them?
And what I've told them, mm-hmm. and it's working. So I'm not telling you something that I read off the newspaper. I'm telling you what I've been doing to white folk, and it's working. Because they're coming back and saying, okay, I got you now.
How you know it's working?
Because they're coming back and telling me, because I'm giving them an exercise and on a homework assignment to do with our conversation.
What's the assignment? Jimmy, you keep forgetting. I missed your assignment. I was looking at the fact. What's the assignment? What did you tell them? That was so earth-shattering, they call you back and say it working. What did you tell them again? Just repeat yourself again. It's all right. Say it again. I'm going to write it down this time.
You have to explain to them something about you. It's not a blanket answer. Something that about you, and take a moment that when you were with that white person, and y'all, because that's an ally, take a moment from the past and explain to that white person what exactly it meant to you that they probably didn't understand about you, or why you did something a certain way that they might not understand about and they might just took it and ran with it and didn't even see it. Take a moment for it, and I say, for example, let's say if you guys are in the car together, meeting at the parking lot. And let's say y'all meeting up, you and the white person meeting up. And let's say as you pull up in the parking lot, you see the white person waiting in their car. and and the white person see a black person getting ready to go in the store, you know how they do? They lock their doors, or they clutch their purse, or they do something. Those are reasons that we already think we understand why white people, we know they do it, and we think we understand why they do it. There are a lot of things that we do that they don't understand. Now, let me break this fraction down. There are a lot of college coaches out there that I've been around for years, right? And I think I know them from hanging out with them for years. But guess what? The minute we walk in the titty bar, that coach turned into a whole nother person in the titty bar than he was in the gym, that he was we eating at Papa Do's. In that titty bar, that coach turned into a monster. I'm like, and you like, damn, I didn't know he had it in him. Boy, look at him.
So how you gonna put them in a position? Hold on. So how you gonna put your white friends in a position for them to act like a monster in this case?
You're not putting them in a position to act like a monster. First, you're giving them some understanding about you, because for them, this is about them understanding us. They already know why their white friends act the way they act. They know. It's just that they brush it aside when they're talking amongst each other.
Why it's got to be us acting the way we act, Jimmy? We ain't never had nobody. I ain't never had nobody in slavery. I have never systematically oppressed nobody. I have never. Why should I have that? What?
When I say acting the way we act, the funniest thing in my mind was a riot or looting or protest. I was acting the way we act about certain things. I wasn't thinking about that.
I didn't say nothing about the riots.
But you just saying about
you said act the way I don't understand what you mean. The way we act, the way we act. I didn't understand it.
The way that black folk do some things that they do. Same thing.
All black people don't act alike, Jimmy.
I say do some things that we do. Some things. The way they have no understanding as a whole, a lot of the things that we do, why we do them. It could be something so small as why you put hot sauce on that. And they may not understand that. So why you gotta
what does this got to do with racial injustice? I'm just trying to tie it in for me.
Elder. This is about the fundamental element. Once again, in order to help them to be able to go and help their people, that white ally of yours has a collection of white friends that they're going to be in the room with, and they may talk. There may be a whole different dialogue going on with them. That white person is not normally going to be the one and step in the room and say, "Hey, Lito, stop talking to them about them black people like that. Don't call them that."
So what do you think? Seem like what you're saying. The only reason white people treat us like this is they don't know us. That's what you're saying.
No, understand certain things.
They don't understand.
The
only reason they treat black people like this because they don't understand certain things about it.
No, it ain't got nothing to do with the treating. It got something to do with the understanding because right now we're in a position where we are trying to implement the change or get them to stop doing what they're doing. A lot of them, especially the ones in uniform, that are police officers, a lot of them to stop doing what they're doing. That's one of the first layers of the task at hand. But the conversations, a lot of people, understand, a lot of white people, they're afraid to even come in the room that's allies with you right now. They don't even want to come in the room with you right now for the fear of the unknown. They're fearing that possibly same type of scenario. And we don't, without going into religion, which but I will give you an example.
Well, let's take a break and then come back. Let's take a quick break.
Person that's
Jimmy, I want to hear the rest of this, but let's take a quick break with break time. So take us into the break right quick. We're going to take a quick break right now. Be back.
Welcome back to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour, 54 minutes past the hour. Don't forget, coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by a college coach, and we're going to continue the conversation. That's with Johnny Estelle at Texas A&M Kingsville will join us, and he's a great young man who's made, strides in the college ranks. Widely known, especially in this region of the United States. Johnny Estelle is going to join us at the top of the hour. Meanwhile, continuing the conversation, and I mentioned going into the break, not without going into religion, but think of, let's say there are people that, for you guys can kind of understand when I was getting to about understanding some things about Black people. And if a person has never seen you in a situation or seen you angered, then how would they understand or know what triggers you to go into that phase? Think about it. If they've never saw you angry, then how would they know what triggers you? Because a lot of times there are a lot of Black people out there. Put it like this: do you think that the President of the United States has said anything kind of below the belt along racial lines, and his housing HUD secretary, Ben Carson, probably was in the room, or Omarosa, and they probably just chuckled or smiled and did not say anything? The odds of that is likely to be probably true. And so that means that white person would probably say, well, hell, I say this stuff all the time. And my Black people don't say that, they don't have no problem with that. They will use those people as their case and study. When truth be told, those people are your yes men and women. And that doesn't give you you dare not understand. Now, the religion part is like this. We all have friends that you good people. Now it's a time for a Sunday cookout. You invite them over. You got links, pork chop, right? You got some greens with fat bacon over in that pot right there. And this guy ain't ate all day. He spent the night and he goes and don't want to eat nothing. Don't want to eat anything. And so your mom say, what's the hell wrong with your friend? He too good for my food? He don't want to eat my food? So then now, in order for your mom to understand why your friend is not eating the food, is because your friend is a devout Muslim, right? Who don't eat pork. And if your parent is told that, then that parent will understand, oh, I'm sorry, baby, I didn't know you was Muslim. So now the whole concept changes from because some people I know get pissed off if you go to their house, don't eat their food. You got to at least act like you eating their food. But if they understand that thing about you, it may be something different, something else. Then guess what? The reception changes. Next cookout, if they want him to come and he's invited, that mom ain't gonna cook everything pork. She gonna make sure, baby, I got the gumbo, but we got beef links. Little bitty things like that. And those, it might seem small, but those can translate over to having a white ally understand something about you. That don't mean they gonna care. That don't mean that they want to understand. I'm not saying that, but if they're your ally, then at least you can have the conversation to give them enough ammunition to take back on the other side of the fence. That's what I'm saying. And so that's what I meant in that part. And guys, welcome to the show. I see Randy Livingston down in Louisiana just joined us on the Facebook feed. Also Slim McDaniel, Coach Kenyon Spears is in there as well. How you doing, Coach Craig Mara over at Houston Madison High School? He says, whites would never allow a Nazi flag in a Jewish neighborhood.
Not happening. Not happening. It's not happening. You don't see no Nazi flags in Berlin now. They got power already over in Berlin. It's a unique thing, man. It's just I know Coach is he in the background, Coach. So you didn't already talked about him, but you can introduce him now and bring him in on this conversation. Jimmy, give him his. Hold up, let me get everything set up so I can hook Coach up right. Come on, Jimmy, go on. You can introduce.
Yeah, and so of course, as promised, we are at the top of the hour right now, and we're going to introduce and bring along a college coach who's widely known in these parts of the United States of America, and young man who I've met, since I've been in the business for right at 20 years doing RCS sports, and he's been very consistent throughout the way, and that's one of the things that when the people have consistency. And that's from not necessarily just winning, getting players, being offered jobs. He's a head coach right now at Texas A&M Kingsville. And one thing about it, coaches at all of the colleges, at most of the colleges in this region, they somehow gravitate when he comes in the room. A lot of coaches, Division I coaches, it treated like they're part of a certain club. And if a non-Division I coach come in the room, and sometimes they look like, like scram. You're not part of this. You haven't paid your membership dues to be. But with this guy, watching from the other side of the room, welcome him with open arms. He's one of the fellas. And that is none other than Johnny Estelle of Texas A&M Kingsville. We welcome you to the Chop Shop today, brother.
Man, what an honor, what a blessing, man, to be with you two guys, man. Background, we go way back. I tell Jimmy all the time, man, I met Jimmy in Louisiana. We was in Louisiana. Boy, he was just getting started. We was at the Lake Charles Boston tournament.
Yeah.
And, I had to give him a ride to another gym, man, back in them days because he needed a ride. Man. Well, I mean, but I don't put anybody in my car. That's one of that.
Okay.
So, man, when I met Jimmy, we've been great friends. Jimmy is a guy that is in this business for the right reason, just like you had. I enjoy both of y'all's, listening to you guys, and man, it's just an honor to be able to be here with you guys today.
And Jimmy,
yeah,
I know they listen
so
to
now,
us. Jimmy, hold up. I know they listened to us because they knew I had technical difficulties on my show yesterday. So.
And so we let them know exactly where is Texas A&M Kingsville geographically. They know it's in Kingsville, Texas, but it's plain a lot of people watching it from all over the country and all over the world that are watching the show. Give them a kind of idea where you are coaching at and how long you've been there, and a little bit about the program real quick.
Well, I mean, the best way I can say it is it's the best place you've never been, man. It's a place where it's down by Corpus Christi, Texas. We're about 40 minutes from the beach, a lot of palm trees, nice area. We're traditionally, over the years, been known as a football school. Quite naturally, some of the greatest that have played, 3 of the top 50 players that were, been known to play the game of football, ever put a helmet on. Eugene Upshaw, Darrell Green, and John Randall played here. A lot of people from Houston remember Johnny Bailey. Johnny Bailey played here. Heath Sherman played here. Guy that we have a rich football tradition. But basketball, we've had some guys here that have been good players. But you just, it's a Division II school, and the connotation that you alluded to earlier is pretty obvious. A lot of times people want to gravitate towards Division I. But, what I try to tell people, man, you better choose the right people. You better try to choose an environment where you're going to be respected. You're going to get a quality education. You're going to have opportunity to win. You're going to have, memories and a relationship for life. And that's what I tell recruits. If you want to go somewhere and have a flash and a dash, this isn't the place for you. We're not interested in that. We're interested in not business deals. We're interested in relationships for life. So, I'm impressed with the young men that I've had from Houston over my career. I've been recruiting Houston ever since I started coaching. My first recruit was a guy named Donald O'Neill, played at Jeff Davis High School, played for Ronnie Courtney way back in the day. And I've been recruiting Houston ever since. So Houston is a very, it's about 2.5, 3 hours from us. So it's a hotbed of talent that we, every year have to recruit, and it's been very good to us, to be honest with you.
Coach,
so
I want to add something, Jimmy. It's something unique, Coach. You got a Jay Mouton, one of your seniors
Mm-hmm.
just graduated.
Yes.
And I watched how their families, their mom and dad, when
Yes.
you were recruiting, have you signed the kid from Hightower yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we
Oh
can
yeah.
talk about him,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yeah.
So John
Mhm.
Robinson, those people when they came to me and they asked me, I mean, we was talking about you. I mean,
Yes, sir.
everybody, the parents of a former player, okay?
Yes. Sir.
They gave you the stamp of approval. They said, now you got to
Yes.
be able to want to be coached now. Yeah, you got to be able to want to be coached. But that got, and guess what? And you got a good one in John Robinson, Coach. Coach, you got a steal that a lot of people, hey, after your first couple of years with that kid, you gonna need security to follow him around.
Well, I tell you what, I've always been a guy about, getting the right fit,
Mm-hmm.
and the right fit is kind of what you alluded to a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I want young men that are basically wanting something out of life past basketball. They want to use basketball as a vehicle to get their education. If God has it in their, future, for them to play professionally. We've have had guys in my tenure that have played professionally, either here when I was the head coach at Navarro, and in the 1 year I spent at the University of Houston. That's the blessing in it. But the end result of it is you want these kids to get life lessons. You want them to learn what life's about. You want them to learn, you hear them say this, what's fake and what's real. And I know, I have 4 children of my own, ranging from 27 to 7. So I understand what they're going through. This is a very difficult society to navigate for a young person. So, they're bombarded with so much information that, sometimes if you don't watch it, they're listening to the wrong thing, no matter who it is. So you have to guard the people God brings in your life. I think in this leadership platform that we have as coaches, you have to spend time with these young men. You have to educate them on, what the world's about. And then also you have to be willing to listen and change. And I've had to do that in my career. I've been a head coach for 11 years. I have to have not only change my offense and defense, I've had to change my approach with different kinds of kids. And you alluded to, Trina Mouton and John Mouton, phenomenal family, man. That's the biggest thing I look for. I look for talent is going to always, quite naturally, you're going to see talent. But when you look deeper into it, the families, how they, interact with one another, are they supportive? Those people, man, they've been out to Lubbock. They was up everywhere we went. They were there. Not only just supporting their son, not only supporting him when he was doing well,
right.
but supporting the team.
Yes.
And then, I'm telling you, they brought fans. Our attendance greatly enhanced with them now because they're going to bring 3 and 4 carloads. So for me, that's what I want. I want a family. I want kids to be able to enjoy that experience. Man, you mentioned Ja. What a great, here's the thing. I spent, how much money do you think I spent recruiting Ja?
None.
0. I'm gonna go through the process. Alvin Brooks, as y'all know, Brooks is a very
this
dear
gonna be
friend.
good, Coach. Hold that one. We're gonna take a quick break, Coach,
Yes.
and I want you to come back because I don't want to shorten you on that one. So come back. Soon as we come back, I want you to come right back to that one. Okay? Chop Shop, we'll be back as soon as I find that message that I had for us. 1 second. I had it. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. We went too far. Gosh. We'll go here. All right.
It would seem to me that the proposition before the House, if I put it that way, is the American dream at the expense of the American Negro, or the American dream is at the expense of the American Negro, is a question hideously loaded, and that one's response to that question, or one's reaction to that question, has to depend on an effect on where you find yourself in the world, what your sense of reality is, what your system of reality is. That is, it depends on assumptions which we hold so deeply as to be scarcely aware of them. A white South African, or a Mississippi sharecropper, or a Mississippi sheriff, or a Frenchman driven out of Algeria, all have, at bottom, a system of reality which compels them to, for example, in the case of the French exile from Algeria, to defend French reasons for having ruled Algeria. The Mississippi or the Alabama sheriff, who really does believe when he's facing a Negro boy or girl that this woman, this man, this child must be insane to attack the system to which he owes his entire identity. Of course, for such a person, the proposition of which we're trying to discuss here tonight does not exist. And on the other hand, I have to speak as one of the people who've been most attacked by what we must now here call the Western or the European system of reality. What white people in the world, the doctrine of white supremacy, I hate to say it here, comes from Europe. That's how it got to America. Beneath then, whatever one's reaction to this proposition is, has to be the question of whether or not civilizations can be considered as such equal, or whether one civilization has the right to overtake and subjugate and in fact to destroy another. Now what happens when that happens? Leaving aside all the physical facts which one can quote.
Welcome back to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour, the best 120 minutes of your day, 11 minutes past the hour. We have with us right now Johnny Estelle, head men's basketball coach at Texas A&M Kingsville. And guess what? Great convo. How do you pause them at? You put a stop sign in the middle of the freeway. He was grooving right along.
Did you hear what he said, though? He asked us a question, Jimmy. You can't ask the question. He said, you know how much money that I spent out of my budget to recruit Ja? And I said nothing. He said zero. So, of course, as going to the break, Coach Estelle, you was about to tell us about Alvin Brooks and you can proceed and finish telling us that story.
All right. Well, I mean, it's all about relationships, as you guys know, man.
Yes.
I mean, it's the people that God puts in your life. And, Alvin is a dear friend of mine. I mean, he's like a big brother to me and a mentor. So, he kept watching Ja and, quite naturally, he was watching the team, recruiting Bryce and everybody. He goes, hey, there's a kid there that, John, I'm going to keep my eye on. I said, okay, now we have limited resources, a short, not as big a staff and don't have the money to recruit like Division I. So we have to rely on relationships, so to speak. So, Alvin and Alvin Brooks Jr. and other people like yourself, or I trust and value your opinion. So he went and watched them and he kept watching them. And also Trina and John Mouton was watching them. So it was funny when I first talked to John, I said, I've been watching you all year. And he said, well, Coach, I really never met you because of the pandemic. He was coming down to visit and I was going to go to Houston and meet his family. Uh-huh. He said, how do you know me? I said, because of all the relationships I have and the people I trust and value their relationships. So, it worked out that, I didn't mean that to say we got him for cheap or nothing, but
no.
It was a God thing. It was a God thing because I went on Stephen Woods, another guy, a very good friend of mine, the head coach there. And that's how when it's special and everything comes together all the relationship add up. That's how kids have success. And that's why you don't see a lot of transferring out of our program and a lot of, keep guys going in and out. Because, you got to think about it at this level. You don't have all the bells and whistles, say, that, University of Houston or Texas and them have. So the relationships have to be strong and the people that, your best recruiters are your student athletes.
Now tell them what the level of the as far as NCAA is Texas A&M Kingsville.
We're NCAA Division II school. We're right under like the Southland Conference. It's kind of a, even when I was in junior college, when I recruited guys, sometimes when you started the initial process with guys, they would ask, they would look down on it like, well, is it a lower level of basketball? Well, I can tell you there's a bunch of Division I transfers in this league that are from even high major, mid-major programs. So we have to have Division I talent. And all the JUCO guys and high school kids that we recruit Division I transfers, you have to reassure them that, the things that, that you endured at the level you came from, it may be a little tougher here at times to play because you're dealing with a different type of circumstance.
And speaking of the transfers, just in your program, why don't you share some of the Division One transfers who, remember now, most D1 transfers guys, when they leave, most of them, they're thinking they're going to go to the Division One school who also may have been recruiting them before they end up signing with wherever they went before they transferred. So most of them, trust me, I've been studying for years. Well, in many cases, that don't happen. And Division II schools, as Texas A&M Kingsville, will land those prospects, those transfers. Tell us some of the names that may be notable that you've had and come to your program, and tell us where they came from into your program.
Well, that's unique. I have not been in the Division One market as much, but we did have young man Marcus Harris from Stephen F. Austin that transferred from Nicholls State. We've have, most of we had a kid transfer from North Carolina Central, 2 guys from out of the, area that have been graduate transfers that, actually played here and getting their master's degrees, John Guerrero and Alex Mills. Alex Mills actually played at McLennan Community College for one of my dear friends, Kevin Gill, who runs a great program down there in Waco, Texas. So, you have to each school is different. And there's some schools in our conference that are very Division One transfer heavy. For me, I had to build this program, me and my staff, from the ground up foundation. So my first recruit was Will West, a kid that played at Clear Lake High School, ended up being a teammate, a cousin of one of my teammates. So we built it from freshman on up. So we add transfers, JUCO transfers, occasional Division One transfers. But, for me, I don't get real wrapped up into it. I do want to stay old in my roster, but I'm always looking for the right fit. Sometimes as coaches, we're the worst at trying to make something work that is not going to work. So if you don't share the same values, if you don't have the work ethic, if you don't see life like we do, we are mentoring these kids, but it's not going to work because we don't cater to the kids at that level, in those capacities. So we're looking for a certain kind of guy. So hopefully with the things we've done in our program, making it to 2 NCAAs and things like that, that we'll be able to get in that market to a little higher level talent player to help our program. But if not, I'm going to stick with what's been good to us.
And indeed, sticking what's been good to you, who are some of the coaches out there that you that help morph your coaching pattern? Like just name some of the guys that you took some of their tutelage and help you to get to where you are right now.
Well, that's a great point. I when I speak to young coaches, I always talk about you need a wall of honor. You need a mentor wall of honor, and that's what I call it. The first guy, quite naturally, all my coaches I played for, were phenomenal at teaching the game, discipline, and things like that. So that's where you get your base from. But, your foundation comes from home, my father. But you asked about coaches. So let's go out. Jimmy Tubbs was a man that, at SMU, a lot of people, he's passed on for a few years, man. He was the first guy that, just took me under his wing. Back in those days, when we talk about how younger coaches today learn the business, you used, there wasn't, all these platforms that you have now. So you had to physically sit in gyms for hours at a time and go eat with these guys and stay on the phone with these guys. And you shadowed these guys like an apprenticeship. And Jimmy was one of the first guys that ever took a sincere interest in me. He recruited me out of JUCO a little bit, went to the junior college I went to when we was at Hutch, but that relationship stayed strong. Moving from him, Alvin Brooks, was a guy that I met, and he just impacted my life, not only from a coaching standpoint. His family, Rochelle and Casey and AB3, Vincent, and how he lives his life. It's just a high quality, valuable individual. Helps people, man. I don't know what people look for in hiring coaches. That guy right there, to me, if I was a young coach, if I was a CEO, I would hire him in a heartbeat. Because number one, he knows what he's doing and he's got high character. Lewis Orr, I worked with him for 8 years at Navarro College, Hall of Fame coach, 83 years old, man. Not that it matters, he's a white guy, a man of God, took me in at a young age in 2000, 2008, basically trained me on the job, allowed me to coach games, allowed me to make mistakes. I can go on and on about what he did for my family and the investment he made, and he's still doing it, supporting us. He goes on the road. Him and his wife just came down and visited us. And then Buzz Williams. I worked with Buzz here at Texas A&M Kingsville for a year. That guy, in 1 year we worked together. Buzz really taught me the ins and outs of the business. I didn't have any clue that Buzz would probably be what he is today. I knew he was going to be something. Matter of fact, that's what I told his wife. I said, you better hold on to that guy, Corey. I told Corey that because Corey played basketball here with me. And I said, because I think he's going to be really something special. But now, could I told you he was going to be the head coach at Texas A&M? No. Or Marquette or Virginia Tech. Wow. But I'm not surprised at the success he had. So these are the kind of individuals, kind of on my wall of fame that have impacted me in my career.
That's great. I mean, now I know the connection. Thank you, Coach, because I was not wondering, but I remember being at the Final Four in San Antonio, and I'm on the Riverwalk sitting there eating, and you and your family and Coach Brooks and his family came up, and y'all were eating together, and I didn't know this connection, and I'm glad glad you gave us that connection. Now I know. Wait, in Jimmy's favorite words, I connected the dots. But you head coach. What you say, Jimmy?
I said, as I was the topic earlier. Now he understands.
Okay, I got
he will understand, and so that means he will understand by his affinity and affection and respect for the Brooks family.
Yes.
That way, if a person look on your roster and they see the son of Alvin Brooks on your roster,
yes,
nobody complains. Nobody say, well, he gave connect the dots. And guess what? And leave it at that. It's respectful because at the same time you've been winning. You won the most games this year than you've been since you've been at Kingsville, right?
Yeah. We ended up we was blessed to have one of the fourth best seasons in school history. I actually played on the team that had the best, but this year we had a great year. And our leading scorer was Rashawn Thomas from Klein Forest High School.
Coach, do me a favor.
Hey, yes, right, Rashawn.
Yes,
Coach, do me a favor. Turn your other device that you listen to the show. Turn that down a little bit, because we hear feedback. Okay. Just turn that down a little bit. And I got something for the parents out here, Coach. And it wasn't glossed over, but you stated it earlier. Alvin Brooks was always at Hightowers game. So he saw a lot of Ja Robinson. That's why I tell these people, parents all the time, you don't know who in the game watching your son. Think about it. U of H coaches in the game giving Coach Estelle intel on you might have thought your son was there. He was there looking at your son. But he was giving intel to somebody that could help your son and put your son in a position where he can be successful. Unbelievable story, and I don't want to gloss over that because that's very important. Every time you go in the gym and you play, I tell every kid, it's an evaluation period for you, son. Every time you lace up, every time you whine on the bench, every time, whatever you do, every time your mama come out there stands and start talking crazy, it is, did you notice what Coach Estelle said? The Mouton family. He gave them that family, even when their son, keyword Jimmy, wasn't playing as much. They had the same kind of mentality. That's why their son wound up, and they had a daughter played on the girls' team. That's the stuff that coach a lot of people we have you. Thank you for bringing those points up because a lot of parents need to understand that. We got a minute left. Y'all can, Jimmy.
Yeah. What I want to ask you is that you can when Haller he mentioned about the coach coming to see a prospect or a game. And then leaving there and sharing intel with an ally who's of a coaching ranks and a different conference or a different level? How common or uncommon is that in the coaching ranks?
Oh, I think it's very common, because it's a big network, and what you and Hatter y'all hitting on good points, man. Mm-hmm. As a recruiter, you're trained to see everything, at least that's the way I was trained. As you come in, you're going to assess the player, how he acts with the coach, how hard he plays, the talent. Yeah, but then you also assessing the stands. You're watching, when the coach disciplined that child, how does that family react and things like that? Because, all of these things add up to, if you're going to get a great opportunity or not, or you're going to get a scholarship opportunity or not. And, man, you think about it, the best way I can say as a parent is, just be an ambassador for your child and the program that he plays in and be grateful and thankful. I think about Karen and John Thomas, who I know they're on the scene there. And I think about Rashawn, who, like I said, he was the athlete of the year, which is for a basketball player, is very difficult for our school. There's only been about 4 guys in the that played basketball that have gotten that honor, but Rashawn Thomas received that honor. He had an interesting, journey. He started up at Southwest Oklahoma, and then he moved to Coastal Bend, and then we were able to get him here. We connected with John. John actually went to junior college at Ranger with a guy that's named Sidney Days that played at Yates High School. Sidney Days played at Texas A&M Kingsville before I played here and won the first championship before our championship. Sidney, who we call old school from Yates High School, and TC Shields come back every year. We connected the dots. John liked to visit, Rashawn liked to visit, but what pushes over the top, in my opinion, is Sidney connecting with Karen and John about me and the school and what it could do for their son. And now he's going to graduate with an engineering degree.
Wow.
And what we do is we go to a quick break and we come right back with Coach Johnny Estelle. Meanwhile, guys, we invite you to share the show right now on your platforms. If you're on Facebook, share it right now. Don't be selfish. If you're on the YouTube feed, give us a thumbs up. Meanwhile, we're going to keep that thumb in the air in respect. Just giving a shot to Buzz Williams right now over in Aggieland while we come right back with Johnny Estelle.
And use the strength of their balance to force the wealthy nations, which are the white nations, into giving more independence to other nations who are still under their jurisdiction. You and I have to look at this and understand this, that the ballot is as powerful as the bullet. Now, if you and I leave it up to the moderate Negro leaders, they'll be able to trick it up and make the world think that they passed something that doesn't really mean anything. So what you and I have got to do is get involved. You and I have to be right there breathing down their throat. Every time they look over their shoulder, we want them to see us. We want to make them pass the strongest civil rights bill they've ever passed. Because we know even after they pass it, they can't enforce it. In order to do this, we're starting a voters registration drive. We have to get everybody in Harlem registered, not as Democrats or Republicans, but registered as independents. We're going to organize a corps of brothers and sisters who, after the city is mapped out, they won't leave one apartment house door not knocked on. There won't be a door in Harlem that will not have been knocked on to see that whatever black face lives behind that door is registered to vote by a certain time this year. Nobody will have an excuse not to be registered. We'll ask him, let us see your card. If you don't have the sense of responsibility to get registered, we'll move you out of town. It's going to be the ballot or the bullet. After we get our people registered.
Welcome back to the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks. And we got our distinguished guest today, Coach Johnny Estelle from the University of Texas A&M at Kingsville is in the building. Jay's coach is in the building today. What's up? What's up, Coach? I told you to hold up a minute. Coach, where you want to go back to?
Well, we go. I'd go and toss him a shout out from the Boom Boom Room.
Okay.
And Rick Godfrey, he says, "Hey, Coach Estelle, this is Rick Godfrey, the PA announcer at U of H during your last season there with Coach Dickey. Here's wishing you success and prosperity from this day forward." It's a small world. And speaking of University of Houston, man, what is Coach Dickey doing nowadays?
Coach Dickey.
And yeah, tell us about, U of H. That's right, you was there. People probably forgot.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
now I know why. Okay, now I understand.
You know what is you? I know I heard y'all talk to Ronnie about his year at U of H. And me and Ronnie Hamilton was on the same staff with Alvin and Coach Dickey.
Wow.
First of all, man, Coach Dickey, man, I don't mean this any disrespect at all. I don't know why that man has done so much in this business. What he did at Texas Tech, what he did at Houston at rebuilding the program there. For whatever reason, he don't get a lot of credit. And to me, you couldn't find a better person. And you remember correct, me and my assistant Eric Colbert and Bilal Badley worked with me at Navarro, and man, we had a great staff and we were rolling, man. We had won 4 championships in 5 years and went to 3 national tournaments and graduated 94%. I'm not name dropping here and being arrogant, but to leave all that, think about what I'm saying. To leave all of that to go work with James Dickey and Alvin Brooks and Ronnie Hamilton. That's a tribute to who they were as people. And I'd be remiss to not mention that, Coach Dickey's doing fine. I mean, he's up there taking care of his mother. His mother is in her 90s. And, he texts me on Father's Day. You can't find a better person that'll get a shirt off his back than James Dickey. But no, he's doing fine to answer your question. He's still doing what he's doing, helping people and just being who he is.
And yeah, Coach Dickey definitely was a great person, and I mean, is a great person. And also his brother Randall Dickey,
yes,
who I had a super relationship with. He was an assistant coach and many stops. I think last stop was at, I want to say, Auburn.
Yes.
One of his last stops. Randall Dickey was one of the best. That was my guy right there. And now, speaking of transfer to the D2 level, if you guys just tuned in, this is Coach Johnny Estelle. He's the head men's basketball coach at Texas A&M Kingsville. And it's widely known around the area, around the region that is, as why college coaches like, mostly from kicking so much butt during his days as a head coach at Navarro in Region 14. Now, what I want to ask you is, on the D2 level, first give you a question twofold. How important, or as a Division II coach, do you use the transfer portal? And what happens if, explain to the viewers, what happens if a recruit comes and signs out of high school with the Division II and decides to try to go to Division I as a transfer? What would happen in that instance?
Well, I mean, the legislation, I believe, is being postponed for a year, if I'm not correct. But if they go to one-time transfer, then, that's going to open up a floodgates of what could possibly happen. But guys could transfer from here and go Division I. There's been, guys do that. Guys that, have went junior college after a year and tried to go that route back to Division I. We look at the portal every year, like quite naturally I mentioned. We're putting our program together for the best need. So, depending upon location, we recruit a lot regionally. We do have kids from outside this region, but I believe that there's enough players in Louisiana and Texas to go around that if you recruit that area, and if you look at, our pedigree at Navarro, it was the same way. You know, we would branch out. Louisiana was huge for us. Texas, Houston, Dallas was huge for us. San Antonio was huge for us. So when we get in that market, so to speak, not that, you know, you have to look at budgets and dollars down here because scholarships are different at the Division II level, out-of-state tuition, things like that. There's a lot more variables in the equation of why you would go with a, you know, a kid from out of the state, I mean, a Division I transfer. It just got to be a great fit because it's a huge investment. Because, you know, we have like a salary cap or a salary pool, unlike, you know, 13 full scholarships at Division I.
Interesting. That's good.
And so now with the transfer portal, you mentioned the legislation has been tabled for this year, but it is expected to be passed, whereas people will be able to transfer one time without sitting out. So with that, do you expect that to hurt your top end of players in the Division II ranks? Because every team is going to have a leading scorer or a leading rebounder or a leading defender or a leading three-point shooter, and something like shooting three-point percentage is one thing that can definitely translate over depending on your height. Well, how do you expect that to help or hurt your league?
Well, I mean, you know, it's going to start from the top down. You know, high major probably looked at mid major. Mid major going to look at low major, and low major going to look at Division II. And you know, it does make you somewhat skeptical and nervous. But you know, what we've been talking about the majority of today is about relationships. And if you have strong bonds and relationships with the family, you know, you're probably still, by the law of attrition, going to lose some people to, you know, aspirations of wanting to play Division I. But you know, if you sell you know, not say sell, but if you provide and offer the right, you know, means that they can stay there financially and playing time and the way you treat people, I think that you're going to hold on to the ones that you're supposed to hold on to. Those guys that are more ambitious, they're probably going to, you know, have other guys attached to them that's going to have a so-called better plan than you have. But, you know, I would be interested to do a case study on guys to say how many of those situations and scenarios really, you know, materialize and happen. You know, I know you hear about the Division I guys. You know, I think, you know, AB3 and Baylor has done a phenomenal job in that market. They've kind of went, you know, 180 of what they used to do, all the McDonald All-Americans, to now they get the right fit guys. They're getting guys from mid-major programs that, for whatever reason, was, you know, overlooked or have, you know, developed late. And, man, they went to #1 in the nation and making history. So, you know, you just got to stay in front of it is what I try to call it. You got to stay in front of it. You got to spend time, you and your staff got to spend time with your kids. You have to basically heed the warning signs. And, you know, you cannot hope and pray that guys, you know, continue to just want to be with you. You got to make sure they show you that they want to be a part of your program. And you got to, you know, be who you are. And at the end of the day, it's all going to work out.
And for Division II, explain to a lot of the viewers how the scholarship or the funding works for the student athletes in the basketball.
Well, I mean, we offer full scholarships. I mean, there's guys that have full scholarships or scholarship amounts. You know, it's not you know, a lot of people get it misconstrued. You know, it's the same thing you can do in junior college. You know, when I was in junior college, you could take the scholarships and, you know, you had a certain amount you could break up over 12. But you know, we're budgeted from a standpoint where we can really give a guy a good scholarship. Now, what we don't venture into is the cost of attendance and things like that. There's very few schools at this level that do that. But we're able to cover the basic needs of tuition, books, and fees, you know, the living arrangements. We have a great living arrangement here, you know, meals and things like that. So, you know, all the basic needs that a guy would need or a young lady would need at this level, they can get here.
Now we give, as far as funding for programs, a lot of schools as Division II are compatible with D3 or NAIAs will often play against Division I schools nowadays. And you know, as far as what they, you know, scrimmage game or exhibition game, what they call it. And, you know, and sometimes depending on the school that you play against, you can get a good check for some funding for your program with one of those good games, right?
That's correct.
So,
you know, yeah, we played Texas A&M last year, and Buzz was very gracious for giving us an opportunity to play. And actually, you know, we're going to play again next year. I took a group of guys up there. You know, and we performed, very well.
How y'all do up there, Coach? How y'all do against your fellow Aggie, A&M?
Oh man, we were fortunate, man. We were down 3 with 50 seconds left, and
wow,
he took it easy on us, and man, we lost 50 by 7. He's gonna try to kill us next year, I'm sure, but it's not that big of a difference. Well, the big difference from that level to Division II. I mean, I'm not giving. The quality athlete. White National. I worked at Houston. We beat UConn, the national champion that year. Played Louisville, that had pros. Cincinnati won the league. A lot of people don't even remember that. Cincinnati won the league. Louisville had won it the year before, the national championship. UConn had won the year before that. Had pro, but Cincinnati won. So I know what a high-level pro looks like and coached them at Navarro. But at this level, it ain't much difference in the South than in us. And in some instances, maybe a few mid-major minus programs. So when you get a chance, we're going to play UTRGV next year. We played them before. We played Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. The payday is not as what you probably would think it is, quite naturally for Division II. I wish they would change that. I think some of the pay that they may have for some of the SWAC or MEAC or low major schools is up to almost $100,000 now. If you can get a good guarantee of double figures, I'm not gonna put a figure out there, but that'll be a good per diem. I mean, a good for your program right there. Good funding for your program.
And what we do is we get ready to go in the break. I want to read this comment from the Boom Boom Room, and this is from Coach A.B. Brooks and Coach Brooks, Alvin Brooks. He says, Johnny Estelle is a class act. He's one of the best coaches in college basketball. Yes, he's a good friend, but I say that because of his record. A&M Kingsville hasn't been to many NCAA tournaments, but Estelle coached them to 2 NCAA tournaments in the past 4 years. Also coached Navarro to more junior college national championship tournaments than anyone in that league at the time. I always like winners. Now, speaking of mentioning Alvin Brooks and Alvin Brooks 83, you mentioned those schools who giving you some money games. No Baylor, no U of H. What's up with that?
Well, it's hard to play family, man. I mean, it was. I mean, Buzz is family.
If they chucking you a check, Coach,
they taking it easy on me.
Okay. We'll let them make it. And we'll go to pause for the calls and come right back after these messages with Coach Johnny Estelle. Guys, hang right there. Chop shop.
Jimmy, come on, let's go.
Welcome back to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour. You're in the best 120 minutes of your day. Don't forget, you just tuning in. Make sure you share the show if you hadn't done so already. Share the show to your timelines, to your hoop groups, to your friends. If you're on the Facebook feed, shout out to everybody over in YouTube land that are watching over there. Great convoys going on right now with head coach Johnny Estelle of Texas A&M Kingsville. And Coach, we are, with everything that's going on in society today, we feel remiss if we did not bring up the topic of social injustices and police brutality alike. Have you been in the unfortunate situation of getting the phone call as a college coach that one of your players have been in a legal spider web or a legal situation in the midnight at some point during the day?
I've been very blessed. Not really. I have been a victim of mistaken identity. If you want to call it racial profiling. Because the kid was tall and he was an African American kid, and they just assumed that he was a basketball player. And I always really, I ain't gonna say enjoyed it, but like when you met with the officials and you said, well, give me the name of this guy, and they tell you and you say, well, he don't play basketball. We just assume he played basketball. No, I mean, because he's tall, he's African American, doesn't make him a basketball player. So in that regard, we've been blessed. But I had a young man that played for me, Wendell Allen, that played for me at Navarro College, that was from New Orleans. And I think that was about my 3rd year there. He returned home. He didn't come back after Christmas due to some financial situations and things at home. And he's one of the guys that was killed. I mean, you don't hear much about his story, but there was a collage that somebody sent me of from Black Lives Matter, and he's actually on the collage. He has a white suit coat on, and he has like a blue New York Yankee hat on. So I went to New Orleans. Me and my assistant coach Eric Colbert, and met with his mother, gave them our condolences, and gave him his jersey when he played there. And that's a tough position to be in, man. You know, because you just didn't understand why. You know, and then the deal with George Floyd, who I went to school with here at Texas A&M Kingsville for 2 years. That was very hard. That's been very difficult. It has been very eye-opening. Not that the other things haven't been, but this one here hit so close to home because this guy's been in my dorm room. We've hung out together. We was good friends, and to see him, his life being taken like that is just unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable indeed. So now, what are the plans as far as your program? As far as I know most coaches out there will be trying to, if they haven't done so already, have a conversation with their program, and out of nothing else to prepare them to, of how to endure a police stop, ranging from that all the way to being able to register them to vote, and or just to educate your programs on Black history. As the NABC, I see they are making efforts to do that on that side of the fence as well. But what are you planning to implement at your program a little differently going into the fall semester?
Well, I mean, we always believe in education, and I believe there's no future without knowing your past. You have to know your past. So, we have a mentorship program that we've done ever since I've been a head coach. We called it the Navarro way. We call it the Javelina way here. But what we talk about, and we bring in, the UPD, the campus police. We bring in Title IX. We bring in people to educate our young men, even though they do meet with us because it's mandated by, the NCAA or, the school. But, I want them to have an intimate, hour-long, detailed, one-on-one, basically our team and them, smaller number conversation about these issues. I want them to see that not every police officer is a bad police officer. They're here to protect us. But I also want them to educate us on what we need to do. And that means whether we're African-American, Hispanic, Anglo, doesn't matter. So, for me, I'm always going to get in front of it. So me and my assistant coach, Omar Gonzalez, we've already had a team Zoom with our team 3 weeks ago for 2 hours. And we got in front. I wanted to know how they felt, we had a young man that was in one of the marches here in Corpus Christi. I asked him, he was a very quiet guy. It really shocked me, honestly. I said, what motivated you to do that? And he shared his thoughts. He was really good friends with another kid that happens to be, Anglo-American. And I asked him, basically how he felt about it. And without even, thinking about it, he just said, I have no idea how it feels. I'm hurting for you brothers. I wish I was, able to fix everything, but, collaboratively together, if we, work together, we, through athletics, we can show the world what teamwork and true, how to be leaders in this situation, and that's something that is great about my occupation and my profession is you have to stay young, and we can learn from the youth of America, and to watch them handle this situation and basically want their voice to be heard, but doing it constructively. That's admirable because that's a platform that we never had. We've never had that opportunity.
Coach, I got to tell you this. Coach Buddy said, "What's up?"
That's my guy. That's okay. My New Orleans.
And Coach, Coach. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I've been thinking about something, been praying about some stuff, and I got a release from it because I found out my son, he was up there protesting in New York also, but he didn't tell me until afterwards. And I wanted to know it before because he could have went and did it, but it kind of got me because you're in New York. You know, you're up there protesting. And now think about this. These are executives and him and his friends out there protesting. I'm going to tell you something. I think they have ticked off the wrong generation. I'm watching the young women. I watched the George Floyd's funeral, and the most vocal and the most passionate person that spoke was his young niece. If you go back and she, you know, cause some, you know, I was talking to my son and his friend the other day. He said, I know they're good police, right? But if you don't, and he explained, he said, but Robert, he said, Dad, if you don't interfere with the bad arrest, then you're a bad cop too. He said, you can't remain silent. You see, are those good cops that are calling in and not answering calls in Atlanta because they was mad? Because you follow me? It's some, I don't know if you know, Johnny S. There's some cops in Atlanta calling in sick. Tell me they sick. They're not answering calls. And I was just thinking about how can we emerge stronger? That's my question for you. From the pain of this current moment and work towards a better future.
Well, I think you alluded to it. Both of y'all have alluded to it about finding solutions. You know, I'm on a Zoom every week with AB3, who's done a phenomenal job with that, you know, with his platform, man. And we talked about this, and we have to find solutions. Like the platform that I've been granted here, I get to be on, not say both sides. I mean, I hear both sides, and people, you know, are going to share things with me on an intimate level on both sides, probably they wouldn't do. You know, if I walked up to a rally and saw a guy with a Confederate flag, he, you know, and I start trying to reason with him, it's going to turn ugly to be yelling and screaming. But, you know, I heard Kareem Abdul-Jabbar say this, man. I heard him speaking on one of the late night shows, and he went, you know, here go a guy that was in a protest in New York when there was a young African-American guy that was killed when he was in high school. And then when you know, Martin Luther King was killed when he was out at UCLA, he was part of protest. And the guy said, for a man of your stature that's been through all these, what would you advise us to do? And he said, basically, I would challenge you to have a conversation with somebody that don't look like you on the basis of humanity. On the basis of humanity. And man, that was so deep and resonated with me because there's where the change takes place. You know, it's not going and trying to get the guy that's, you know, had his fist balled up and you know, it's the conversations with our friends and conveying how we feel and how our people feel. That's where the change can take place, because now those conversations that are going to be had when we're not around, that's when you start seeing the real change, because they're going to start basically checking those people, saying that's not okay. And the less conversations like that are taking place, the more real we can be with each other. But if you could go back and look at the riots from Watts and look at the ones from Minneapolis, boy, there's such a significant difference. There's still people that are upset and angry, but the crowd is so diverse today. And that's what I think this movement is, why it's going to be so profound. You know, we're not by ourselves, so to speak, in this deal. There's everybody has just had enough of it. And you know, a lot of it is to be because of the things that they see daily, and they won't change. They won't change.
And that was, ironically, you just mentioned about having a conversation with a person that doesn't look like you, with a race. And this is exactly before you came on, is what one of the topics that I was one of the nails that I was hammering, and I often kind of invite a lot of the guys, people that are watching, to do so. And that is because I think it's very, very important to have that dialogue with a person of color. So now, and earlier, just so that the music isn't from a different set of speakers, well, the music is from a different set of speakers, because earlier, you know, Hatter wanted to know, what do you tell that person of the other color when you're talking
I
to
was
them.
about to tell him too, but you so adequately jumped in. I was just about to ask him, what the hell you tell? What you tell him? What do you tell him? Give me, because I hear Jimmy say this every day. We got to talk to him. What the hell do you tell him?
That's a great point. I think you just, like I said, it depends upon the type of relationship. Like the friends I have that don't look like us, we're very transparent with one another. There's no, like if I had a conversation with Buzz about this issue, and I'm sure Buzz has, commented on this already, I don't have to dance around it. So that guy, him, or say like even Coach Orr, who happened to come into town and jumped on our team Zoom. We talked about George Floyd and did an eloquent job of talking to my guys about it. Those are the people in my circle that I'm talking about you start with. So expressing, number one, do you understand why we feel the way we feel? Do you understand? Because you don't have to walk in our shoes. You don't know what it feels like. And portraying that to them educates them, so to speak, on, they've never been stopped like that. They've never been treated like that. I think they've heard that. I'm not saying they're not empathetic towards that, but until you've been done like that, or you've seen that, or you come from an environment where that's prevalent, that's difficult to deal with. So you have to basically convey that to them in a very constructive manner.
And so what have your success level been with your conversations of recent with people of another color?
Well, it went up to even our president here, Dr. Hussey here, our president. I've had conversations with him. I've had conversations with, my athletic director. That's the kind of relationships I've had. They're very open towards that. They want to have forums. The people at Texas A&M University of Kingsville kind of let you know about our leadership here. They're putting together a panel of, employees here that's going to be able to help us with these issues, and then also help our kids. And we're going to basically identify leadership within our kids at a higher level to be able to help with this process. So, it's been very positive. You asked, how has it been? It's been very positive. It's been very sympathetic. But then again, you probably going to always have one or two situations that are going to very greatly disappoint you. But I think that's life. You're going to have that no matter what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And that one disappointment,
you think that's going to change the way people think? So you saying you're trying to get to your friends.
Let me tell you.
You trying to get to your friends.
This is how I look at it.
Huh?
You look at how you get a job sometimes. You have to have somebody in the room that you're not able to get to speak on your behalf, whether if it's an agent or whether if it's a search firm or whether if it's somebody recommending you to get that job.
Why should we need people speaking on our behalf? We ain't done nothing to them.
It's a great point. I agree. It should not be that way. I'm not saying that I condone it. I share. I know your frustration. I know what you're dealing with. Yeah. Because we're all in it together. But I think that we have to continue to advocate on our behalf. We have to continue to organize. I heard Jimmy say some great things. He said, if you're going to have a voice, what I took from what Jimmy was saying earlier, if you're not involved like voting, or you're not involved just in your community doing things and advocating for your community, which you live or you've been raised in, rather if it's Fifth Ward American or rather if you're from Memphis, Tennessee, and you're not giving back or helping or advocating on their behalf, then what are you standing for? That's the point. I'm from Waco, Texas, and I think about the same things. We've all have seen injustice. We've all experienced it. But now with the platform we've all been given, what are we going to do about it? And we have to, in our individual way, attack this. And we also have to educate the youth on how they can handle it too, because they need direction.
Well, we got one more segment left with Coach Johnny Estelle, and want you guys to hang right there because we want to come back and land this thing on a good note. We got some other questions. All of your questions, I see them. I was saving them for this last segment. So now, if you hung around, you will get your question asked next segment with Johnny Estelle on the Chop Shop. Hang right there. Be right back.
What's
poppin'. Brand new whip, just hopped in.
The pressure, you didn't really feel the pressure of having to, but when I think back 11 years later, man, I mean, and the times we live in, guys, well, this is crazy.
Because this sport is moving forward. This sport is in a progressive mode. This sport is in a moment where this crap, this despicable crap, is not only not acceptable, but there's just no place for it. And whomever that is, I hope that you are so ashamed of yourself. I hope that you realize that that is someone's dignity, and that is someone's positioning in this sport who has earned his place by talent and by hard work, and he stood up for something that he believed, and he asked for help from other people who believe similarly, and that the measures were taken to start taking those steps. And then we come down here to a place that I love. I love Talladega, Alabama. It's my favorite place on the NASCAR tour. It's my favorite race. I love the staff here. And then I'm about to say words I'm not allowed to say. Something like this happens in the garage area? In the garage area of Richard Petty's race car? Sure time to go be better. And it pisses me the hell off. And it pisses everybody else in the sport off who care. Who care not only for Bubba, but for every single person that he is.
Welcome back to the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. And we got the man, Johnny Estelle, head coach of Texas A&M Kingsville, in the building. And it's the last segment, Jimmy, and you said you was going to go through a battery
Questions.
Okay, shoot.
So we go first. We'll go right now to our hotline and what this is from Coach Greg Wise.
Okay.
Right? He says, tell you great job today. And he wants to know if you plan to or have talked with your players about registering and voting. And if so, tell, I guess, fellow coaches how those conversations went.
Oh, yeah. Like I told you, 3 weeks ago, we already had a Zoom about it. And we talked about it, and our players were very adamant about, voting. Within our platform, we're very transparent. And guys talked about, they didn't like where basically the country is going. I'm not going to get into a political deal, but they are planning on organizing, not only with basically, with our team, but they're going to advocate with the student body and the people in their community about, registering to vote. So, we're ahead of that, man. I mean, they in it. We're all about solutions, and that's one of our ways of finding a solution for the predicament we're in now.
Okay, now somebody else asked, did you coach Frank Benson, former Worthing High School star at Navarro?
Oh man, yes. Boy, man. Yeah, Frank could score. Frank, Lord. Frank was a man. If I had Frank today, I would win a national championship. Frank Benson was serious.
Was he a qualifier out of high school? Or
no. I got him out of there from Juice, from Gulf Shore.
He went to Worthing, then Juice, then Gulf Shores. He had a brother named Justin Benson, went to New Mexico.
That's right.
Yes.
What year was that?
But this how far I go back on the scene.
04, 03, something like that.
Jimmy, you remember Michael Riggs that played at Worthing High School? The last time Worthing been to the tournament, me and Michael Riggs played together here. He was actually good friends with Fred. He played for Worthing back, I would say, in the early 90s, about 92. The last time Worthing went to the state championship, Michael Riggs, best player on the team. I played with him here.
Now, here's another question somebody asked. What's your fondest memory during your time at University of Houston?
Oh, hands down, beating UConn. I mean, that was one of the, a lot of Ronnie didn't accurately depict. House was out, okay. LJ Rose was out. Big J was out. So we had 3 guys in our top 6, 7 rotation that was out. And we beat the national champion. That was a great night. It was right on the eve of New Year's Eve. Picked up a great victory. Had a great celebration at the Brooks house over there on Apache. And man, that was the best day of my life. You've been there. That's the best day of my life. Because, at that time, boy, that was a huge win, man. And didn't know that UConn was going to be the national champion. Who did they have
on their team, Coach?
That was huge.
Who did they have on their team?
Shabazz, Boatwright, Olin.
Yeah, that's a championship team.
That's a championship team.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm going to tell you, the American was real, man. Check out this team right here. Louisville, Rozier came off the bench. He didn't even start. Montrezl Harrell, they had a McDonald's All-American that actually was a 6-man on the team. Coach, that league was real, man.
And Cincinnati won the league.
Cincinnati won it. They had a dude, 6'5", about 215, named Sean Kirkpatrick, that could get a bucket on anybody that played guard. I mean, the guards in that league and the coaches in that league, Larry Brown with that SMU, everybody had players. Man, we finished 6th. We all get lost in that. We beat 3 national teams. No disrespect, we beat Memphis. We beat SMU, went to the second round, and we beat UConn. Lost to Connecticut with Oscar Robinson sitting at half court that they placed by about 4 in front of about 15,000. And that was the first year that we actually transitioned to that level of play. And when you look at it, we didn't do bad.
Next question, which team, and during your time at Navarro, which team in Region 14 gave you the most problems?
Ooh, good question. San Jack always, Coach Janana did a phenomenal job there. The league was, Sky League. I would say San Jack was good. Kilgore had a good team. There were a lot of good teams. Tyler, all those teams were good. But, we would play the teams in the South only one time, which is the Blends and those guys. We had a lot of battles with guys. But I would say probably, overall, San Jack.
And another question is, in your program, what is the role of the parent in your program? Because every time, a lot of coaches don't talk to the parents. Some other coaches let parents come to the practices. Other coaches don't have meetings. What's the house rules for the parents of the student athletes in your basketball program?
That's a great question. When I started, Jimmy Tubbs told me, he gave me some great advice. He told me, he said, when you handle parents, and, I'm not going to say how he said handle it, you have to do it in a very professional manner and everything like that. But he said, on average, he said, just think, make them think you're crazy and they won't bother you. But we don't do that. I think that we're very open. We're very transparent. I I've been very blessed. When I look at my team last year and every team I've coached, we have had phenomenal parents that understand. Now, I coach them hard. And, I understand sometimes they don't like it. They don't like the, when I get cussing them out. But I'm going to get on your tail. I'm going to discipline you. But it's fair and it's across the board for everybody. And once they understand that there's no hard feelings and that they know I love their children just as hard as my own off the court. And I'm going to be there. Me and my staff is going to be there for them every step of the way. So I think there where they understand that the way we do things is a little different than maybe they're used to, whether it's at a junior college program or high school program or AAU program they've been in, that is more realistic and down to earth.
Coach, Jimmy, I think that crazy thing is good because Coach Bill Courtney, I never said nothing. You know how people always thinking I'm this parent. I never said one word to that man ever because I really thought he was crazy. Because I was at practice one time and him and Robert was going at it like they was teammates. And I said, oh my God. Hey, Coach, I said, wow. And both of them crazy because my son got a little crazy in him too. But I understood it because I've never one time pick up that phone and say, hey, Coach, I thought he was crazy. Yeah, I did. If you ever see him, yes, you can tell him. I thought he was crazy. Bill Courtney.
Tremaine asked, do you have any open practices to the plug? Do you have your practice open? I kind of touched on it earlier, but you can share that with
Yeah, I mean, we're always open, rather if it's coaches. I mean, I don't think we've ever had a parent come, but I mean, we don't have anything to hide, Jimmy. Everything we do is what you see is what you get. And like I said, we're very transparent. That's a huge part of our program. We treat kids fairly. We treat them like they're our own. We love them hard. We coach them hard. So at the end of the day, they can come watch practice, or any coach can come watch practice. And I would advise younger coaches to do that, to go watch U of H. Go watch some guys.
Great.
And another question is,
Coach, Coach, I'd like to know about your staff. We know about you, but tell us a little bit about your staff.
Well, I mean, I have right now a smaller staff, but Omar Gonzalez is my current assistant. Okay. He's been with me for 5 years. Actually graduated from U of H and was at U of H when I was there. One of the best hires or signs I've ever had since I've been here. We just lost 2 of our GAs, so we're looking for 2 GAs. So we deal with smaller staffs compared to Division I staffs. Okay. When I was at Navarro, I had a guy named Eric Colbert. Man, that dude is, a head coach in waiting. He was great. And Bilal Badley, y'all know Bilal.
That's my man.
Bilal, that's my protege, man. That's my guy. Legend Wright was another guy. Rob Wright's son worked for me. We had a good group, man. Brian Crawford was another guy. But you're only as good as your staff, as you know. But Omar Gonzalez, he's like 3 guys. Every one of these guys are like 2 and 3 guys, and I've been very blessed in the success I've had because of them.
And Coach, is that the same Omar who coached with the FIBA games with Puerto Rico or something?
No, wrong guy. This guy's better.
But Coach, I'd like to thank Coach. I'd like to thank Omar because Omar subscribed to our YouTube page this morning. Yes, he's very efficient. That's my dude, Omar. Omar, whatever you need, hey, I got you, Doc. I got you.
And they're spitting the question out. I'm gonna spit them to you because I know time is winding down, so we get some of these questions that they're posting on the Facebook and the YouTube feed. And one of the questions is, Coach, did you have Mike Kaiser at Navarro? You say I believe he went to Louisiana Tech from there. I think that's the kid from up in DFW.
Mike Kaiser? No,
Mike Kaiser.
No, I never had.
I think that's the kid from Dallas Kimball. If I wanted to say.
No, I didn't have him.
Now, also, how many times have Texas A&M Kingsville been to the national tournament over the years that you've been there?
2 times. With the school, in the school history, it's crazy. Since 1925, they've been playing competitive basketball since 1930. has only been in the national tournament 6 times. And I've been fortunate to be there, 1 as a player and 2 as a coach. So twice in the last 6 years.
And next question is, what do you look for? What do you look for in hiring an assistant coach? It's coming out of Chicago, Illinois.
Loyalty. Got to have a good skill set. A guy that want to help people. I'm not interested in self-promoters. I'm not interested in name droppers. I'm not interested in people that got a hidden agenda. I'm just looking for people that are very transparent, culture people, people that want to, get out of their world and help others.
So now the grad assistant, you mentioned you have 2 spots left. Explain to the viewers, because everybody has a relative somewhere. What I'm just saying, I mean, and they may be interested in doing so. What are the qualifications that you recommend for one or both of these grad assistants?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the job itself. And people may say, well, why would you want to be a GA at the Division II level? And here's why. You can actually actively recruit and coach and be on the scene and be noticeable, unlike at the Division I level. Division I level, a GA is always behind the scenes. So when I talk to guys, yeah, you're not flying charter or you ain't, playing on TV, but they're not going to see you anyway. If you're a GA, they're not going to see you
That's
anyway.
right.
So,
That's a good point.
the best thing I thought was, what did Alvin do with Junior? He sent him to junior college. Best thing he ever done. Because he got to do everything. Yeah. He got to do everything. So now it's just basically manifested in what he's doing at Baylor. He knows how to do everything. So a GA has to be able to be a full-time assistant coach, basically, while going to school and handle the responsibilities of both.
And so now, that person, that GA, what are you providing for him? Do you providing housing? Are you providing any type of amenities do you get that person get?
Now, there's a tricky question. Sometimes we do, depending upon, what the budget looks like, if we're able to do that. But in the past, that's what I've done. We've paid for their school, and then out of my budget, out of our fundraising effort, we basically paid for their lodging and meals. That's way different than what I got, but I try to take care of them as much as possible. We don't have a quote unquote stipend to pay them, right, but they do get their education paid for and have a place to stay.
That's good.
So it's a job for a young, hungry, upcoming guy that, and when I think about when I met Bilal when he was 19, and this is different because he was in junior college, I knew that guy was going to be something, man. I knew Bilal because he was eager. He came from us from John Lucas. I mean, he'll ask you 3,000 questions. Yes, he worked hard. Man, so them are the kind of guys I have to identify to bring in at this level, the next Bilal back.
And as we get ready to land the plane for today's show, we have 3 more questions on the hook. Might as well feed them to your coach. And out of San Antonio, somebody says, how do you feel about the whole Lone Star Conference now that it has merged?
Oh, I think it's a good thing. All the schools that we've added are, basically basketball schools. They've added a lot of value to our conference. And, the league was really good this year.
And what high school did you attend in Waco?
Well, the only school, Waco Conley, man. Don't ever get it confused.
Oh, well, Angela, she went to Waco High, so she wanted to.
Man said the only school.
All my cousins went to Waco High. I'm all right with that. I mean, she didn't say university, but no, in Waco is a unique place, man. We all get along.
And the next to the last question is, former Clear Lake High School star William West. How was he as a player in your system?
Well, he was the first guy I actually signed, and he worked out really well. I mean, he was a guy that came in, played for Coach Penders. They played a different style, so he had to adjust.
He signed with Denver, right?
Yeah, no, he was close to with Southeast Missouri. He was close to signing with Southeast Missouri. Some things happened there, and that's why I say relationships come into play. I get this job. Me and his cousin played on championship team here at Kingsville in '96, and I met William that way, and we were very blessed to have him. But he had a good career.
Jimmy, I didn't heard of that name. I know this kid, don't I? William West.
Yeah, he played for Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know him.
He was on that team with.
They went to state and lost at the buzzer to DJ Hogue and Plano West.
Who
No.
he played with?
Before him. That before his brother was on that team.
Oh,
He
William
played
West.
on
Oh,
Yeah, he played on Houston Hoops with that team that had
Yeah.
Joe Burton and all them guys. I mean, not Joe Burton. The kid that went to Oklahoma. Dang.
Okay, he had to be on the team with Rob. He had to be on the team with my son. That's what I'm saying. I know that name,
yeah.
William West.
Yeah,
Kadeem Ladden was on
good
that
guy.
team.
We were
Justice Winslow and those guys, they all played together. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the little brother. The younger brother came right after him. That's the one who went to sign with Denver out of Clear Lake. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I mean, hey, man, great combo, Coach, man, and we definitely appreciate it. I got one for you. That since we are right in overtime session. One is walk-ons.
Yes.
How does what's your walk-on process? And do you actually, since, most walk-ons are willing to pay their own way, how do you identify walk-ons, and how many do you annually keep on your bench?
Well, I mean, generally, man, our program, I mean, is 16, 18 guys, man, I think back to my JUCO days. I've given guys opportunities down there as walk-ons that actually got Division I scholarships out of junior college. They was hungry. They were late developers. I don't like turning down people. Quite naturally, there's only a certain amount of people that you can take. Quite naturally, if there's a need for a certain position, that helps accelerate the process. But we investigate every one of them. I mean, you get so many emails today, but the guys that are really hungry, that want to, play college basketball, that have a great reference. I think references are really good. Guys that I know or may know me, calling me, that really helps. It's, the process. And like I said, we're always open.
And lastly, we'll leave you with this. Which college coach, which one of your former bosses is the best on the grill? Because you mentioned cookouts quite often that you go. Which one can burn the best?
Ooh, wait. Let me guess. Well, Coach Orr, he really didn't cook. Let me see here. Coach Dickey, he would buy a great meal. So, man, I had to work for a lot of guys, man, like that, man. God.
Well, some of your coworkers, assistant coaches, throw them in the mix. Who's the best?
Well, Big E, I got to give Eric Cole, but he did a great job on the grill one time. Me and Eric actually lived right next to each other when I was a coach at Navarro for a year, and he would have cook-overs quite often. But he did a lot of eating too, but he could cook. He was pretty good. That was my guy, Eric Cole.
Yeah, man. With that having been said, Coach, we definitely appreciate it, man. You dropped a bunch of nuggets today, and to a lot of the people, have a better understanding of Division II basketball and how and to at least to some degree. And how can they get in touch with you or follow you on social media or whatnot, or you're an assistant coach if they have more questions?
Well, I mean, my email is Johnny, JOHNNY .Estelle, ESTELLE @tamook.edu. You can send me an email address there. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I'm not the most active on the Twitter scene. But email is probably the most, the easiest way to get a hold of me, man. And Jimmy, I want to say this, man. I want to basically say this and give you and Hatter a shout out, man. I've known both of you guys for a while. I've definitely known Jimmy for the longest, man. And I'm very sincere when I say this, man. The platform and the impact that you're having on just not basketball, just not the African American community, but just on people, man, is very profound and it's admirable. There's a lot of things you can do. You can sit back and, if it don't affect you, don't get involved. You guys jump in with both hands and both feet. You allow guys to have a chance to, convey their thoughts and articulate their thoughts, but then also you present it in a way that is constructive and solution-based. And, there's not a lot of that going on, man. So you both are class act people. You're high professionals. your people that I call dear friends. And man, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You're making this world a better place, and I really appreciate you.
Hey man, thanks so much for you, Coach Johnny and Stell, guys. You give whoever you are, give him a round of applause. Put your hand on your computer or your device. You know, just throw the energy back through there. Hey, and Hatter, I'm gonna give you something, Hatter, that I have never seen in my life. And this is, if you're thinking about swag, this is in the swag bag category. If you go to the basketball page of Texas A&M Kingsville,
Okay.
and then click on the roster, Hatter, as I'm talking. Go it on real quick and click on the roster for the team. Do you know? I'm waiting till you get there, Hatter. I'm waiting till you get. Let me know you get there. Coach Estelle, do you know what I'm about to? What we're going to see?
It's a wrap, man. It's a wrap, right? It's a wrap. Come on.
No, this is some good stuff to me. So on the roster, Hatter, you got there yet?
I'm almost there. Okay. The roster. Okay.
Men basketball.
I got you.
Now get down. And of course, shout out to Casey Brooks. And Coach Brooks is watching, you know, and his son is on the team. He wears number 11. You go on down, and you see like Casey Brooks, right? You look over at this thing. It says red shirt freshman.
Okay.
Right.
Casey Brooks. Okay.
Houston, from Houston, Texas, Atascocita High School.
Click on
right?
him.
No. Go on down a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go on down to Ricky Marshall.
Okay, I'm there.
Tell me what it say. Read Ricky Marshall's profile. Read Ricky Marshall. Read it out loud.
Texas Jack Yates High School.
He ain't from Houston. He from 3rd Ward, Texas. I ain't never saw that on the basketball thing in my life.
See that? I like that. Coach, the
He
other
from
kid.
3rd Ward, Texas.
No.
That's swag.
Hold up. Check this out. The kid up under him is from Houston, but he didn't put that. He just put Houston, Texas Yates. But this kid is 3rd Ward, Texas Yates. What's the difference,
The only way you go.
What's the difference?
Well, but both of them are diehard Yates, Jack Yates guys. Wellington Stovall and Rick. But I guess Rick more passionate about it, or at least that day he was. And and maybe Rick slid it in there because I noticed the same thing. You don't really look at it. And then I went back and said, 3rd Ward. And I saw Rick. I said, Rick, did you put 3rd Ward? He said, that's where I'm from, Coach.
I like that. Coach.
I'm thinking Ricky Marshall. I'm thinking him. I like that right there.
You know what I'm saying? So when you think about Houston, you think about 5th Ward, Texas. You think about 3rd Ward, Texas. So those guys represent where they from, and they proud. So that was classic there, man.
Wow. And so, man, we appreciate it, Coach, man. I just want to leave on that good note. Make sure you tell everybody hello. Thanks so much to you. Of course, to your assistant coach, Omar Gonzalez. And Omar is definitely doing a super job. And you never know who's watching because that's, same way players get recommendation, coaches do too, especially in assistant coaching rank. And we pay attention to a lot of the work that he was doing during your conversation with us. And that lets me know a lot. So that means if somebody's looking for, something, Coach, you might not keep him long. Coach.
Hey, man, can you cut this guy off, man? What is
Jimmy,
you doing?
I'm going to mute you, Jimmy. I'm going to mute you.
Hey, man, mute him, man.
Say, tell him go find us some money games from Baylor and A&M so we can keep him down there.
No,
we got to
Coach,
keep him down.
No, Coach, this would kill me. Coach, that next time we come back, I just want to know why the Division II can't get the money that the other college. Is it a rule? What's the rule, Coach?
You know what? That's a great point. I've asked my AD for years. I said, what's the fundamental difference? Now they'll play, some other NCAA schools and they get them for cheap, but they'll give a swing school which they need it. I get it. They'll give them $100,000, man. Then they'll try to give you $8,000. No, or maybe give you some hotel room.
No,
but
sir.
But you kind of it's about the experience, But boy, that would help, with money tight to be able to get a better payday. Hatter, if you were my agent, Hatter, you would represent me and we would get more money.
Coach, I'm gonna have to represent the university, Coach. In that, I got to represent the university in that respect, Coach. Because guess what? I know you're going to get the money, but I got to get the university some money to get you the money.
Well, guess what? I know doggone well that U of H gonna give you a game for it over with, because ain't no way Alvin Brooks gonna let his son not, when they get to be a senior,
right,
in his senior year, you will be playing University of Houston in the exhibition game. That way that father will be able to coach against his son in the starting lineup during the jump ball and have to scout against his own son. They might sleep in different rooms when they get home during the break.
Hold that thought. Let me one up you on this. Let me one up you on this. What if Alvin's a head coach?
Guess what? If he's a head coach, he's still gonna give you a game where his son will be in the lineup, wherever he is.
Excuse me.
Hey, I know this is your show, but let's drop the mic, because you and I know that Alvin Brooks should be a head coach, and you know AB3 is gonna be a head coach. Should be a head coach.
Oh yes.
But I know for sure Alvin Brooks, as much time he done put in this business, and I'm not saying take the family out of it.
No.
Alvin Brooks has rebuilt more programs as a associate head coach. Just name them. He's recruited more pros than more people, and you don't know about it because he's not a self-promoter. But we got to promote him, man, because that guy deserves a job, man, because that guy is the best to me. I totally
agree.
Alvin Brooks is ready to be a head coach again. We got to find him somebody that's going to take, because that dude does more for people than anybody.
Coach,
guess what?
I got
It's
you, Jim.
coming.
I can't let that stop there. He's
It's coming.
absolutely right, because when Penny got that job as a young coach, that's the guy that sit down and talk to me about, and I relayed the stuff that he gave to me, because him and Penny didn't know each other then. I related to Penny. So let me tell you something. You're absolutely right. I totally agree. Ditto, whatever you just said. And Jimmy, we need to talk about it more on this show. Now.
Yeah, it's piping, it's bubbling.
Okay.
It's piping. They hear it out there.
I'm just saying.
And guess what? And speaking of U of H, they just got the big fella from Arkansas to take the place. Of course, Fabian White is out for the year, but they just got a transfer in. They got, trust me, no. They all right.
U of H.
They all right.
U of H be working, man.
They are. I'm telling you. And you guys on there, I can't remember his name. The young fella.
Yeah, it just
that
happened.
they picked
It just
up.
happened.
He went to Finley Prep. I remember him at Finley Prep a couple of years ago, and he played. He was about 6'8", and this young. I mean, they got just the right piece.
Okay.
Because he's kind of similar, but he's a little bit strong, kind of similar to a Fabian White. Now, Fabe was probably more, he meant more. It was more value as a fan, because you're rooting for Houston to test seed and you're rooting for, but guess what? That's on the road. This guy right here.
That's called good leadership right there.
Hey,
it's called good leadership.
How good is Tremont, man?
Who?
The kid.
Tremont? That's all I can say, Coach. Coach, he's long. Coach, hold up. Like Coach Henderson, you said, he's long, he's athletic, he can do. Let me tell you something, Coach. He one of them.
Yes.
He could be one of them. And hold up. And he couldn't went to a better school.
No question.
And the name is Reggie Chaney, who I was talking about. That's the big show. Reggie Chaney, who went to Finley Prep a couple years ago. Man, hey, I feel good. U of H.
I'm sorry. Jamon Marks is the dude.
Hey, that whole program is going to be fun to watch this year.
And guess what?
Hey, man, how about the commitment that those facilities that they have at U of H is unbelievable.
What?
Now, you're a Houstonian, and I know both of y'all are historians of the game. That's unbelievable, man.
Dude. U of H got something over there, man.
Hey,
I can't. Go on, Jimmy.
It's state of the art. That Fertitta Center. It's so inviting and comfortable and easy on the eyes. And another thing, when you go into certain stadiums, it's not a long walk upwards.
No,
you got to go up. Every seat is a good seat, and that's another thing. Every seat is a good seat, and they were smart enough to even put, let's say, the high school section, the high school, like the recruits and whatnot, and the some grassroots community. That section is near the front entrance of the door. That's not a far walk. That was greatly, little bitty small details like that. You know, before you have to walk around when you come in to go and you sit on about a tunnel and you coming in through that. That's a long walk, and you feel like you're ducking in, you're ducking out. Great concept with University of Houston in that place. And Coach, all they got to do is they keep winning.
And before we get Coach out of here, Coach, you got 8 of your parents watching this show today.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's I'm very humbled and honored, but I'm not surprised. I don't mean that arrogantly, because that's who they are. That's that's who they are. That's why we're successful. The people I work with, like Omar, and the parents that I serve, like they're on here. I thank them immensely.
Coach, how hard is it to get to play against an HBCU?
You know, that's crazy, man. You know, like I've tried to play UTSA and some other people, and
HBCU.
No. I understand what you're saying. I'm just I'm leading into my point.
Okay.
Like the Prairie Views and the Texas Southerns, and I mean, I guess because their schedules are so built that they have to generate so much money.
That's right.
And I think that's why, you know, it doesn't kind of correlate with us. So we haven't had a lot of luck with that. You know, I think our women's team actually played Prairie View last year, but you know, generally, you know, we try to play, you know, low majors and, you know, mid to high major teams, you know.
But man, thanks a bunch, man. Johnny and Stell, guys, great job today. Coach, you knocked it out the park. Great convo. If you just tune in, you can always go back and watch the show in its entirety. If you want to get right to Coach Stell, just get your finger and scroll over to about the 1 hour mark in, and then you can watch it from there. And this was a super show. Make sure you spread the word if you're a first time viewer of the Chop Shop. We are on from 12 to 2 Central Time, streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook. That's Chop Shop HTX is our handle, as you found us just now. It's the same handle on all social media platforms. Follow us. Go to our YouTube page. If you're on Facebook right now, do us that favor and subscribe to our YouTube page. There's no fee. Just subscribe, because that's the digital footprint that we are trying to increase. And day by day, we're getting there. So help us with the YouTube footprint, because that's going to make the difference in the long run in social media platform. Thanks again for you, Coach Johnny and Stell, man. Great job you are doing over at Texas A&M Kingsville, guys. If you have questions, be sure to get in touch with him. Scroll up. The assistant coach Gonzalez has put their contact info on the thread in the Facebook room only. And with that being said, on behalf of Robert Hatter, this is Jim Hicks. It's time to slide on down Dino's back. And yabba dabba do, just saying. See you tomorrow. We up out here. Chop Shop.
Jim Hicks. Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We